Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Around the Boot. I'm Steve Schneider, LHSAA Network, and we're talking Warwick Dunn watch lists. We got to pick 10 finalists for another award winner coming up January 24th. Bringing in Jeff Palermo, the voice of many of our championship and great games of the week. And Jeff, we released the list of 24 people on the 24th. Last week, we went through the big markets of Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Shreveport, and Monroe, trying to catch up on some of the other areas that have worthy players on that watch list who could be finalists and could walk away with the award. And in Lafayette, we had a couple of guys on the watch list from programs that you'd certainly know in terms of, Lafayette Christian is a good program. Karen Crow always has good teams. But you saw a guy recently that probably needs to go on that watch list. Why don't you start by telling me about him and his performance on Friday night against St. Thomas More?
Well, Turling's Catholic quarterback Alex Munoz put on a show, man. I've been watching his highlights. I've been reading about him. Turling's has had some really good quarterbacks over the years, but this kid is special. And their first-year head coach Michael Corville had told me he's our Diego Pavia, and he really is. He's a small guy. He had a pass play in that game where he just kind of threw it up, and one of Turling's Catholic receivers caught the ball inside the red zone on a jump ball. He just makes things happen, and you can tell his confidence, his moxie just spreads across the entire team, just like Pavia's does with Vanderbilt. And he reminds me a lot of just a bigger version of John D'Artes, who was at Vermilion Catholic. Yeah. So something where you could, someone who can run the football, can make some plays, and really the whole offense, the whole operation really revolves around him. So I was really impressed, and it was an impressive performance by Turling's Catholic to finally get a win over St. Thomas More for the first time since 2015, and the Rebels defense was also fantastic in the game as well. They shut out St. Thomas More over the final three quarters, which is something you don't see happen too often with an STM offense. So yeah, Alex Munoz needs to be on that list. I think he's one of the top 5 players in the state of Louisiana this year.
Duly noted. And look, it's an impossible job. A lot of the discussion that we had this week is about Richard Anderson could actually be the guy that wins the whole thing. And he's not a quarterback. He doesn't often touch the ball. But as soon as we put out the watch list, the Cecilia people were saying, what about Calais? I mean, there are so many great players. To get 24 on that list, I think the 24 we have are great players. But Munoz is obviously a guy that we've been, following here for a little while and did a story on him. And then the performance he has a week after we come out with our list says that he probably should be on there. Any other people, from the Lafayette area that you think should be on there, or even statewide? I mean, there's so many great players in this state.
Well, yeah, that's tough as far as who else should be on that list. This past weekend, I saw a couple good teams in Central and Zachary, and then St. Thomas More is got its fair share of really good players. It's hard to say, Steve, who else should be who else that needs to be included on that list.
Well, you've got it, Elijah Hagan and of course, Pop Houston. Those guys, almost have to have a spot on there. And, Edna Carr has a roster full of players that are either high recruits now, maybe they'll be recruits next year. And so there are just so many different directions you can go. But again, this is something that we're going to be deciding over several more weeks. Some of the guys will play right into the Superdome and could clinch a spot as a finalist, or maybe even the award by what they do in the playoffs and in the Superdome.
Yeah, no, and postseason is so big when it comes to these end of the year awards, because that's where, certain guys really get recognized. And I remember maybe Steve, the year pops in your head, but the run that Puka Williams had when he was running over 200 yards every game for Hanville, and when they got in the state championship, was that maybe 17 or 18, something like that?
I think they played Zachary.
They played Zachary in the state championship game. So, some guys kind of, they make their mark in the postseason. John Darts, as we just mentioned him, he was so good in the postseason as well, and played so well in the state championship game.
And speaking of Cecilia, there was Diesel, another Lafayette area player that emerged. So
Right, and when you think about Diesel, a season ago, he misses 4 games, and yet he is, because of what he did in the postseason, that was a big reason why he got an opportunity to, be one of the finalists.
absolutely. Well, Jeff Palermo, we appreciate you being on the show. Look forward to having you again real soon. We'll move on to our next segment right after this.
For over 100 years, our families have gathered together to share with each other our challenges and hopes, to take this light we've been gifted and paint a brighter future for the next generation. The seeds we plant today are the bounty we harvest tomorrow. As farmers, we know that together we're stronger than we could ever be apart. We're the Louisiana Farm Bureau, and we're the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
So it's going to come down to this.
Can they do it?
Oh no, they missed it! Wait a minute! There's a flag on the play!
Protect what matters most to you and find out the many ways you can benefit. 100% free tuition and fees to all state colleges. Job training in over 150 different career fields, healthcare, pay, and much more. The Louisiana Army National Guard, part-time service with lifelong benefits. Find out more by visiting www.lang-recruiting.com.
The LHSAA Network TV app features a 24/7 live channel as well as on-demand content with all the high school sports you want, and it's totally free. The app is available for download on TV-connected devices, including Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. It's the only place where every day is game day. Download the LHSAA Network TV app today.
And welcome back in Around the Boot. Steve Schneider, LHSA Network. And we've got Harrison Vapnek joining us now from Cenla. Harrison, Work Done Watch List was released a week ago, 24 names on it. What are your thoughts? And maybe tell us a little bit about the guys that you cover, whether they're on the list or should be on the list or can't be on the list.
Well, I know if it's a watch list, you can only put so many names on there. It looks like you guys did a great job with all the great talent. I think Louisiana is the best high school football state in the country. I think it's right there with Texas. And all these kids are not just some of the best in Louisiana, but in the entire nation. 2 kids from Cenla. We're the reigning champions over here. So I thought maybe a little more respect to this part of the state. But no, nonetheless, the 2 kids are great football players and great people. I'll start with Bunky Zion Lee. Just an incredible physical running back. They lost last Friday to Gina. He still put up like 190 yards. 4 touchdowns. He is the heart and soul of that team. He plays both ways on offense and linebacker. At defense, I nicknamed him Mr. Yards after contact. It's like watching like prime Marshawn Lynch against some of these schools where he gets the rock and he can run straight through them. He's committed to Navy, so he's not only gonna play football but serve our country, which is just a very special thing that Zion's doing. And again, great.
That description almost reminds me of Devontae Smith. Right, from A-Meat back in the day. Like, never came off the field, literally just did everything.
Exactly. But, yeah, Zion, one of our favorites to cover. And he's got Bunky heading in another great season back to the playoffs. And we'll see how far they can go. Over at Ash, Xavier White. Xavier White is actually the heart and soul of that defense. He is an animated character. He knows exactly where the camera is when you're shooting the game. He's funny. He was great with his teammates. Just a really great kid to talk to in general. Like, I love going up and seeing him. He always gives me a big hug and dabs me up. It doesn't matter if it's at practice or if I see him outside. He's really great. and the coaching staff raves about his leadership. This Ash team, and we've talked a lot about them this year. They don't have a lot of seniors. There's only like I think less than 10, maybe 12, at least kids who are playing every down or as a starter. And Xavier's one of the few, and they look up to him as a leader. And he's just, I mean, you watch him on film, the way he can rush the passer, and he's physical, and he can move all over that defense. And I know the Trojans are going to miss him a lot next year.
Well, you know, it's a junior senior award. We changed that last year, so this is the second year, 19th year overall of doing the Warrick Dunn Award. But there's some young players in your area that certainly, if sophomores were eligible, they could be right in the conversation.
Yeah, I'll say another senior, Gina running back Cedric Wilson. I was a little surprised wasn't a nominee. Yeah. He's already second or third all time in Gina rushing yards, which, if you know the history of Gina and how much they run the ball, that's a really special accomplishment. I have someone on him coming in a couple weeks, and a couple Ash kids who I think could be on this watch list over the next couple of years is junior wide receiver Alex Fontenot, who's looking like one of the best receivers in the state. He's really coming into his own. And then sophomore running back, our athlete of the week from a couple weeks ago, Kason Williams, who I'm telling you, this staff loves, and Noble Williams as well. Don't want to discredit him, but what Kason Williams is doing, he just sets a new career high in rushing every week, and for him to run for 200 yards against the Ruston Bearcats defense is not something to ignore. A great pass catcher, super athletic. Kervin Johnson, who committed to LSU this week, he's a senior. I thought he could have been. I think he's top 3 in both yards and touchdowns in the state, according to some of the stat websites. I thought he could have been a potential nominee. Daniel Thomas over at Manny, I think he's still got some years to go, so maybe next year, as Manny continues their trajectory back into the playoff picture. But a lot of really good talent around Sentinel. I'm really excited to see who wins.
Let me just tell you before we go, we like defensive guys and we like linemen. Just because Warrick Dunn was a running back who played quarterback at Catholic and played running back, at Florida State and in the league, doesn't mean that we don't like linemen and defensive people.
I mean, Bryson Phoenix, you could list the entire Ash Trojans team. Bryson Phoenix is going to be playing on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's another defense. He plays all over the defense as well. Again, so many kids out there. I'm probably forgetting a bunch. Another offensive lineman at Gina who's a complete monster up front.
All right, very quickly in a few seconds, anybody that outside your area that you just, when you looked at the list, you said, man, this guy, he could easily win this.
Is one of the Carr defensive linemen on there?
Yes.
I mean, look, went to the state championship last year. Great season for Ash. I mean, I can't express enough, but
you remember that guy, right?
When I watched Carr on the other side, I thought that was a
number 90. You noticed that big guy, right?
Remind me of his name.
Richard
Anderson, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that scary. That guy, you don't want that guy coming through the A gap. I'll tell you that. He's a physical, great defensive lineman. I mean, I don't get to watch a ton of Carr because of what my Friday usually looks like. But I know they have a special program down there, and I'm sure he has a ton of sacks and a ton of tackles for losses this year. Not a guy you want to face. I'm sure a guy who will be playing for a long time in football.
Harrison, thank you as always for coming on the show and giving us your finger on the pulse there in the Senlaw.
Somebody's got to do it. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Much more of the show coming up right after this.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
The start of school means the start of new sports seasons, which unfortunately can mean injuries. Too often, sports injuries are treated with opioids, leading to addiction among our youth. And drug addictions can cause overdoses and deaths. If you're injured, ask your doctor for medicines and therapies that don't use opioids. And if you're struggling with opioid addiction, we can offer treatment. Opioid addiction is a losing game. You can help. Learn more at realhelpvr.com. That's realhelpvr.com.
For over 100 years, our families have gathered together to share with each other our challenges and hopes, to take this light we've been gifted and paint a brighter future for the next generation. The seeds we plant today are the bounty we harvest tomorrow. As farmers, we know that together we're stronger than we could ever be apart. We're the Louisiana Farm Bureau, and we're the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
If you want to break the rock, you need to make yourself indestructible. If you want to play between the hedges, you need to work out there, up there, down there, everywhere. If you want to reach the win bar, you need to lose sleep, lose count. You need to play every game like you got nothing to lose.
Welcome back into Around the Boot. Steve Schneider, LHSA Network, joined now by Ken Trahan, Crescent City Sports down in NOLA, talking about the Crescent City collection of talent. On our watch list, there are 24 kids, 7 from the New Orleans viewing area. Ken, how are you? And it's just another banner year for football talent in New Orleans.
I'm doing fine, thanks, Steve. And yes, it is. It's been a really good season across the board, really across the state. And obviously here in the New Orleans area, there are some superlative teams and some tremendous individual players as well. So, we're getting close to the playoffs here, and everybody's jockeying for position, trying to see what seed they can get and who can they possibly avoid along the way.
You know, we're always trying to have some new folks on. I had Madeline Adams on and Seth Lewis, a couple of, they're not kids anymore, but they were kids and interns for me and now work in that market. And I felt like both of them said you could literally have 3 of the 10 from Carr this year. I don't know that we would, historically, this is the 19th year doing it. I think one year we had a school with 3 guys. But, I guess it'd be for you to make that call. Are they so good that you have to have multiple guys off of that team this year? Last year, John Johnson, the third, Hollywood, was the only underclassman. So it'd be hard to keep him off, but then you've got, defensive talent and so many good players on that team.
Well, you've got an elite player in the secondary. You've got an elite player up front on the defensive line. You've got really an elite offensive lineman. Of course, you've got an elite quarterback, and you've got really good receivers and a really good running back and really good linebackers. So I don't know. You could put the whole Carr team there if you'd like. so there's so many good players on that football team. And when you combine that with great coaching, well, you get a lethal situation, a formula that's pretty difficult to beat, as we saw last year, and it's just continued on this year. So, from an individual perspective, they have just a slew of really good football players. So, very easily could put 3 on that list from Carr, no question about it.
So who have you either seen or, whether it's video, doing a game, or, having a chance to watch them? I don't care if it's a practice or a scrimmage or whatever. They just kind of jump. They pass the eye test. They're people that like, wow, that guy is really a player and should definitely be one of the 10.
Well, certainly Richard Anderson from Carr, he's mammoth. I mean, he's a huge guy, and he can move. And that's what's impressive, because when you get guys that big, you think space eater, and that's certainly true of him, but he can move. I mean, he's a good athlete. So that's a hard combination to replicate. So I'd go there for sure with Carr in terms of what his ability is. Easton Royal, he's a junior at Brother Martin, tremendous player, smooth as silk, fast, quick, really comes out of breaks quickly, can run away from you, and he's just a terrific football player. Really impressive guy that stood out to me, a guy that has always been really good since he stepped on the scene, and is a junior running back at Archbishop Rummel. Jaden Terrence having a big year. He gets to full speed as quick as anybody I've seen. His jump cuts are special. He makes people miss. He runs bigger than he is. He's a junior, so he's another one that certainly comes to mind with regard to what's transpired this year. Jacoby Boudreaux and John Curtis, another guy and they play Carr, of course, this week in a showdown game. Running back, Curtis running backs typically don't have great stats because they spread their wealth. But in the case of Boudreaux, he's had a really big year. So he's another one that certainly comes to mind from that perspective. So those are a few. And then, of course, St. Augustine, many good players. The quarterback is somewhat diminutive for Sean Coulon, but boy, is he good. I mean, his numbers are off the charts, and he's terrific. If he was any bigger, he'd go anywhere he wanted to go, but he's an outstanding player. So those are just a few.
And that's the thing about New Orleans is that market, the schools, the talent. Sure, there's more than enough players in the city, but then you also have the river parishes, the outlying. In some years, it's the North Shore. Like, there's just so many different teams to take in, and obviously lots of talented players.
Well, if you talk river parishes, Malachi Dabney at Trahan is terrific. He's a really good football player, and he's got enormous numbers this year for the Wildcats, and he's a reason that they're definitely a threat. They're a team that will go deep, quarterfinals, semifinals, if not beyond, and they have a lot of good football players, but he certainly comes to the forefront with what he does from the running back position. Really good for them. And Skylar Edwards at St. Charles Catholic, River Parish guy, is a primary reason they're going to have a real shot to win a state championship this year. And he's the primary force on their offense in their running game. Second straight year he's been that guy. So he's another guy that comes to mind in that regard. But there's a lot of good football in the River Parish. As you go to St. James, and Jacaius Villanova is a special player, small but unbelievably fast and quick, and of course they've been in the Dome 2 straight years and come up just short, and they have a lot of good football players, but their smallest guy might be their biggest performer. So those are just a few from the river parishes for sure.
Certainly a guy that reminds me of Warwick Dunn, the guy who obviously presents this trophy. Great things in the small package, whether he was in high school, college, and the professional sports. Well, Ken, we appreciate you jumping on, as always. Look forward to seeing you soon. Before we know it, we'll be in the Dome looking at the 16 best teams in the state of Louisiana.
Well, that's the goal, and that's where everybody wants to get. We always enjoy being there. Of course, we like to be part of delivering the message week to week, which we do too, and it's a privilege doing so, and thank you for doing what you do, my friend.
Absolutely. All right. We'll finish up the show right after this.
Protect what matters most to you and find out the many ways you can benefit. 100% free tuition and fees to all state colleges. Job training in over 150 different career fields, healthcare, pay, and much more. The Louisiana Army National Guard. Part-time service with lifelong benefits. Find out more by visiting www.lang-recruiting.com.
At Breck Golf Courses, we focus on the highest level of play. That means award-winning courses, state-of-the-art practice facilities, unique shot-making opportunities, and tournament-level playing experiences. With 2 championship courses located in the parish, Beaver Creek and Santa Maria courses make the perfect setting to test your golf skills. Find your next hole-in-one with Breck Golf.
So it's going to come down to this.
Can they do it?
Oh no, they missed it! Wait a minute! There's a flag on the play!
When looking for college, I wanted somewhere that would push me and allow me to kind of be the person I'd always wanted to be.
Everyone here kind of has this mindset of seeing the next person succeed, and I think that just creates a Southern Miss spirit.
You find what you need out of Southern Miss. What I need isn't what another student needs, but we all find something here.
You don't have to be what people have said you've been. You don't have to be what people think you are. Like, coming to Southern Miss, you can totally reinvent yourself and be who you truly feel like you are meant to be.
And welcome back to Around the Boot. Steve Schneider, LHSAA Network, closing out this week's show. Last week when we announced our 24 Work Done watch lists, people for 10 finalists, we hit the big markets, New Orleans, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, Monroe. But among a lot of the communities around the state, Lake Charles has 3 athletes. That's way more than we had 1 finalist from there last year. Ryan Blakely joins us from KPLC. And Ryan, you arrived in Louisiana just in time to see some great football, apparently.
Yeah, I certainly have, and thanks for having me on again, Steve. I appreciate it. The three kids that you guys highlighted on the watch list: Javon Vital, McKeelan Lemoyne, and Aiden Carter. Javon Vital, I assume, is the returning person on that list from last year from Hamilton Christian. Just probably one of the best athletes in the area, maybe in the state. It just does everything for the undefeated Hamilton Christian Warriors. Just incredible. I think he has over 25 touchdowns now on the ground, through the air. Anyway, he can beat you. He probably is going to beat you. So obviously a good selection on your guys' part there. And then over to McKeelan Lemoyne for Elton. Really stepped in his role. He was kind of in a two-back system last year, and they kind of gave him the reins this year, and it was a good decision because he's been running over just about everybody he can this year, and for Elton, and they just hand the ball off to him, and he runs it, say, 80 yards down the field most times. So he's accumulated, I think, over 1,500 yards this season so far already, and just incredible running back there. And then Aiden Carter is...
He certainly passes the eye test. When you see him
yeah, certainly, yeah. Big, strong, fast, run around you, run over you, however he needs to, he gets it done. And then over at LCCP, Aiden Carter, kind of a surprise out of nowhere candidate this year, especially after LCCP lost their star quarterback, Dylan Vital, early the second game of the year. That was the crazy Barb game. That was 70 to 60 something insane game early on in the year, and he kind of came into his own. They have him in Wildcat running around. They put him out at wide receiver, have him at running back, just kind of get him lost in the motions and everything, and then he gets the ball, and he's one of the fastest guys I've ever seen on a high school football field. He just takes it and goes. So he's been really, really good for them. That's why they're even in the conversation after the big injury they had earlier in this year.
Well, just coming from Missouri, literally before this season starts, I don't know how much you know about the Warwick Dunn story, but this is a guy that, was recruited in college by a lot of schools to play defensive back, even though he didn't really do that at Catholic High. He was a running back who had to play quarterback because they had a running back named Kevin Franklin, the late Kevin Franklin, who was a high-level recruit who signed with LSU. And obviously a lot of coaches saw the same ability in Warwick Dunn, and he ended up at Florida State. So I think you find that a lot in high school where kids are in situations. You never know what they can do till they're given the opportunity, and they, in some cases, can just blossom once they're given that opportunity.
Yeah, a great example of that is Javon Vital. He's playing quarterback right now. He was playing wide receiver for him last year, and I think he's being recruited right now as a wide receiver or running back, or just, put him out on the field. The athleticism takes over, right? Yeah, just to have that athlete stamp next to his name. And he'll make his decision, I think, after the season, they said, on where he'll be taking his talents, but just about everybody has their hat in the ring for him. I know LSU is one of those offers. So that'll be exciting once the season ends. But yeah, that'd be one. And then they throw him on defense as well. He's gotten a few interceptions as well throughout the year. So just an incredible athlete all around.
Historically, we have had some defensive winners, and this, who knows? A lot of people are saying Richard Anderson from Carr should be, right up there at the top of the list for this year's selection because of what he's been able to do. Even though Carr is loaded with other players, that guy just stands out in more than just being big, but the way he plays the game, the way he impacts the game. So just to let you know, we're also looking for defensive people. We're also looking for linemen. Just because Warwick Dunn was a little bitty guy who played quarterback and running back, and most high school teams feature that position, right? Because they want the ball in their best players' hands. We don't rule out anybody playing any position.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I have a few other guys that I just wanted to highlight that maybe got snubbed off the list. There's plenty of great football, like you said. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll hop them in real quick. Kinder, undefeated this year. Had a great year last year and undefeated, and their quarterback, Isaiah Thomas, can beat you with his legs, beat you with his arm. He's playing fantastic football. And then Trell Broom over in Leesville. Leesville had a tough a tough early schedule. That's why their record is the way it is. But he's been slinging the rock better than anybody in the area as well. He broke a single game record for him just a few weeks ago with 408 yards, I believe. So incredible performance there. And then, I mean, they're loaded, but Iowa has just been a wagon this year. You can name anybody on their roster for recognition. Jeremiah Bushnell committed to Houston, a fantastic wide receiver, and then Casson Lewis and Javian Adams kind of tote the rock for him. And if they were on any of the other teams and the featured guy, they'd probably be in this conversation that we're talking right now. So just incredible athletes in this area and just incredible football being played.
Sounds like another purple and gold team called Ash. They have a really great team with a lot of players. Well, Ryan, we appreciate you jumping on and giving us your insight. That's
of course.
This week's Around the Boot. I'm Steve Schneider. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, every Sunday night, 6 and 11 o'clock here on the LHSA Network.